Wow, look at this fish here. What? When they come out of the water, they get wings. Aye.
Nature's amazing, but don't get it twisted. It is crazy. This little monkey over here minding his business. Mind his business. You come bother him. You come bother him. Now, I want to break this down because there's multiple things that I'm concerned about. But first, let's talk about how you came and bothered this monkey while he was just minding his business. Come talking about some here. Oh, and then Beam, you just acting like you got food in your hand, like you about to give him a gift. But all you really gave him was a F you. Now, you see how he reacted? He reacted like I would have reacted. He reacted like a regular human being. That comes to my second step. How does that monkey know what that means? How does that monkey know what that means? He about to give you a knuckle sandwich. You tried to give him something. He gonna give you something else. Let's stop playing with these monkeys, man. I really hope he beat your ass.
Did you know that there's a reason that Jesus is the only way into heaven? Did you know it's very practical, mechanical, and entirely literal? That Jesus himself is the door to get in. How could that be? Well, we're talking about human souls. You can't take this with you when you go to heaven. This is made from the dust, and to the dust it shall return. There's no way around that. Unless you are God manifest in the flesh, and your Father is the Holy Spirit, literally. Now, first I'll say, this answer gives us the whole reason for religion at all. I mean, that's what religion is, trying to get to heaven, right? And it also confirms that Jesus is him. Because there was many that came before him and told stories of ascending into heaven. And the details are very important there because Jesus is the only one to tell the story that he told. He's the only one that used logic and reason to tell it. He's the only one that provides the mechanism to get there, and everything he said is clearly observable in every single thing that he made himself. So how do we know Jesus told the true story out of everyone who told stories? Well, all of reality agrees with what he said. How do we know what he said is different from what they all said before him? Well, the devil is in the details. But wait, hasn't Jesus been here before? Hasn't he manifested in the flesh over and over in different times in different places? No. Look, Jesus says something real special. He said, look, all those who came before me are thieves and robbers. Already clearly separated himself from all these others who claimed to be God. And then he went on to say, anybody that comes after me claiming to be me is a liar. Don't believe them, because when I come back, you're gonna know. The mountains and the islands are gonna flee away and be found no more. There will be no speculation. There will be no guesses when Christ returns for those who belong to him, because he told us every detail of his coming. And he also told us that that was the first time he had arrived, and everyone else who had come before him were not him. Jesus manifested in the flesh one time, right around 0 BC AD. And he told us a story that all of reality confirms. And then he said, I'm him and there ain't another one. And the story he told was pure and perfect logic itself. I mean, explains absolutely everything there is to know about everything there is, wrapped up in a neat little package. Perfect logic. And can cognitive dissonance thwart it? Nah, he don't make you believe it until you see it, but once you see it, you're gonna have no other choice. He gives us the desires of our hearts. If we want to love and believe in delusions, he gives that to us, man. That's part of the formula. You don't want to believe him without seeing him. That's allowed. But once you see him, He's going to tell you that all the things that you couldn't see are clearly understandable by everything he made. So that you're without excuse for not believing him until you see him. He's clearly evident, like echoed in all of creation. That's why he made it. There ain't an organism, situation, or circumstance where his gospel doesn't ring exactly, logically, perfectly true. On all levels. All day, every day. Over grand scales of time or short scales of time. It's just the gospel of Jesus Christ repeated by everything all the time, everywhere. Well, how is this still an argument then? Because people won't go look to confirm the things that I'm telling you. Why? Because their cognitive dissonance says, absolutely not. We won't believe it until we see him. We won't believe it, which we could clearly observe in everything, until we see him himself, at which point the age of grace is far over, boys and girls, at that point. The age of, yeah, y'all suck entirely, but just try to do what I've told you, believing in what I've said, and I will rescue you all from those bodies of death that you live in. And everything I have made, he says, tells you the truth, the logic, gives you the chronology and the timeline of my gospel I'm preaching to you while he was walking around here in the flesh. I'm paraphrasing a whole bunch of what he said all into some simple statements for you. And Jesus said, I am the door. Nobody gets in except through me. Nobody approaches God except through me. Through him. Was he being literal? Or was that just some kind of parable or a metaphor? No, he was being dead literal. He's the door. What do I mean? I mean, no humans could ascend into heaven except there was a father for the humans in heaven. Like, imagine this just on a base scale. Say, let's say we're colonizing the galaxy. All right, I don't believe in such a thing. But let's say we're colonizing the galaxy. Well, no humans can be born on some distant planet except some humans get there first. Right? Like, nobody's born on the new alien planet until the humans get there to have babies on that planet. Now they can be born because they have a fathers on that planet, right? Humans can't be born on distant planets around distant stars until humans get there, just on a basic level. But we're not talking about space exploration or landing on other planets. That's not what heaven is, man. I mean, that's the second heaven, and I don't mean NASA's story, but what we can clearly see, the stars and such are in the second heaven. They're not in the sky, they're in the second heaven. We're talking about going to the third heaven, which is paradise. We're not talking about space exploration or colonizing distant planets. We're not talking about these bodies made of flesh and blood. We're talking about our souls. And souls are able to change bodies, and we all know this, and it's scientific fact. In the Bible, God says, before I knit you in your mother's womb, I knew you. How? Because you existed in your father's loins before he ever birthed you into your mother's womb. That's right, you were born of your father first, and then you were born of your mother. And you had a soul while you were in the loins of your father. And you had a body when you were in the loins of your father, and that body had all the same basic needs and functions as the one you have now. But when you swam into your mother's egg, you lost that body in the zinc explosion. You got blown up into DNA that scattered all over the egg. And God knit you a human body in your mother's womb. And then you were born again. You've already been born again once. The whole gospel is you must be born again or you will perish. You didn't have a human soul in your father's loins. You didn't have a human soul until you had a human body in your mother's womb. Before that, you weren't a human. You were a human sperm cell. And when your sperm soul became a human soul, the difference is the body that the soul has. Before it was a human, it was only a sperm. When it gets a new human body, it's 30,000 times bigger than it was. We have clear evidence all around in everything that reproduces that a soul gets a massive upgrade when it is born again. Everything we can see that is alive is doing this. It's absolute foolishness to think that it just stops after this level when you have clear evidence that you used to be 30,000 times smaller. A sperm gets born again as a human gets born again as a celestial body, and I mean a star. sperm to human, human to star. Jesus very clearly said that humans are like unto seeds. And except a seed fall into the ground and die, it abides alone. But if it dies, it brings forth much fruit. And his apostle Paul explained to us, the seed is the body of the soul, but the true body of the soul is not seen in the seed. You have to put the seed in the ground and let that body die so that the plant inside it can get its true form. Its actual body that it's made for all along, even though it just started as a seed. He told us very clearly that just like reproduction works on the earth, there's a level above this. And that's what this life is all about, just like that's what your sperm life was all about. The life of an acorn is all about being born again as an oak tree. The life of a man is all about being born again as a celestial body in heaven. Jesus took his flesh into heaven with him to be the literal door for our human souls to pass through into our new bodies. He's the sperm that made it into the egg. And you cannot force some other path into heaven. It is he who is preparing the bodies. You might get there to be horrified to find out that you are naked. Jesus is the door, and that is all practical, logical, and literal.
So there are companies that come in to take women's placentas and use them for pharmaceuticals, for beauty products, for stem cells, basically medical procedures. They're valued at a lot of money. I've heard $50,000. I've heard $500,000. I've heard
much for a placenta.
For a placenta. I've also heard that they're more valuable when they're C-section.
Why?
Because they don't go through the vaginal canal, so they're not as, quote, contaminated, so they can charge more for it.
So you mean to tell me that a company will pay $50,000 or above for a woman's placenta and pay more if they are not given birth vaginally? And is that why so many women are being forced into C-sections?
Oh my
Okay,
god.
just a quick recap to remind you that the black sun from down below is the reason of the cosmic energy, and it's the creation of the sun and moon. It's always rotating, and it's always oscillating back and forth in the analemma as it's spinning around, giving us the day and night at all times. Okay, remember? Okay, so under pressure, we have the noble gases in this experiment, like helium, xenon, and all those gases. And then we have a Tesla coil to mimic the sun and to simulate the sun's movement with an electromagnetic field that it stimulates out. Okay, you're going to see that all of the gases get ionized as the closer they get to the pilot source of the electromagnetic field of the sun. And it's because that they interact with the sun in the atmosphere that allows them to become phosphorescent. And that's what gives them their distinct color. Helium, hydrogen, neon, xenon, all the gases, you see them here? There's helium, neon, argon, krypton, and xenon. And they got nitrogen gas. These are all the gases that we see in the sky. This gives them their distinct color. These gases happen in the ionospheric levels, and every gas has its own layer. At the top, you have the lighter gases, and you move down into the heavier gases at the bottom. Every single day, this phenomena happens in the ionosphere, and this is the colors that we see in the sky. It's what gives it the color. In a little bit here, we're going to see a video, and we're going to watch as the sun moves. You see these colors. Okay, because the sun, it works like a moving pilot source of electromagnetic field and electromagnetic energy. And it's moving in a circle inside the dome, and it's charging the radius. It gives us the seasons as it moves through the analemma. When the sun is moving, it ionizes all of the molecules in these gases, and it lets this reaction take place in the molecular level of the atmosphere, and it creates an umbrella of daylight called plasma. Now, in the flat earth model, you have to understand that gravity does not exist. You have to understand gravitational retardation. You need to understand electromagnetism. You have to understand convergent and divergent energy forces. You have to understand the toroidal hyperbola and the plane of inertia. You have to understand syncretism. You need to understand hydrostatics and electrostatics and all the dynamics of the mechanisms of buoyancy and density and the fluidity of the atmosphere and the medium in which it exists in. and all of the foundations around it. We see all of these colors in the sky because the sun is interacting with the gases in the atmosphere and the ionosphere. This is what we see because of it, of the interaction, the chemical reaction from the sun reacting with it. That's what we see, these colors.
Oh, look at this. Are these spiders or what's up? Oh, what's up? Are these the praying mantis or what's this? Anyone here knows what happened tonight in these guys in Myrtle Beach? Oh, it's like they found a mermaid. Wow! And there's a lot of those police cars, ambulance, or rescue teams, which have been called to come and look at the situation. Oh, you see, I'm always excited to see how English people react to different situations. The police, the rescue services, they are always one phone call away, you see? And it's just very good vibes. You see, from this side of the world, you call police at this time in the morning and now you have to wait for them until in the evening, you see? So you wonder what's up. But anyway, all of these are good vibes, so. But now what's more creepy is what they came across in the beach. What do you think all these people could have come to check at night with all these big flashlights and cars with sirens? This is crazy. Now let's assume they found a mermaid, good people of Earth. Where would they take it? Out of the water to another place, or they should just return it to where it lives, natural habitat? Or what do you think, good vibes people? Because now, even if it's for experiment purposes, this creature might hardly survive on land if it is meant to live in the water, you see? But anyway, let's see what happened. Oh, good people of Earth, do you know this place called Myrtle Beach? Myrtle Beach. Just somewhere, those English lands, you see? It's crazy. Oh, see these tales about mermaids and these creatures, half man, half fish in the water. There are even tales like those from this side of the world. And when you were children, you could be told stories of such creatures in the water. Only that we used to think they were used to scare us. But now, after growing up and seeing these videos and same stories in different places of the world, I start to wonder maybe it's like those grandparents knew something. Oh, because wow, oh, God, mermaid, real life mermaid. Oh, it's unimaginable. Now, how could they have existed? A crossbreed of human and fish, or what? But crossbreed of human and fish, how can that happen? My friend, is it possible for a human and fish to crossbreed? Hey, God, English people! Yeah, I'm surprised if that is possible. But you tell me, from the tales you have heard or information you have, where did these mermaids come from and silence, eh? Because it's crazy. Or they were just made like that. This is bizarre stuff. Oh, this is crazy. Hey, English people, they always surprise me with the things you have there, equipments, all this stuff. Like the cars I'm seeing here, normal police cars, are like the ones now used here by the president's convoy. But now these are the normal police cars. Okay, it's good vibes though. All humans are wonderful. Look at this stuff which was recorded in the sky of some place. Looks like something moving in the sky there. What? Could this be those rockets or meteor or what could this be? And in other places, now these are the China lands. We see this good vibes woman here who has mastered, what? Is that chi or what do you call it? She can break stones with, I don't know what type of energy. These guys test their Stargate project. What?
It's not Kirk. It's Scott. Neil suggested I send you to a distant planet for your actions here.
The more you raise your vibration, the more populated areas are going to be where you're at. And the reason being is because when you start raising your vibration, you're going to start realizing that you're like a mini planet. You have your own gravitational field. You have your own magnetic pulse. You feel me? And people gravitate towards that subconsciously, right? So you don't have to, you feel me, try to bring people to where you're at or to try to convince people to do this and do that. If you lead by example, everywhere you go, you're gonna bring people with you, whether you know it or not. Y'all stay tuned into the next video.
This might seem like a normal video to you, and this might look like a normal person. But the minute it goes through this shadow here, it starts transforming into something that could be a skinwalker or creature. This video was captured in Veracruz, Mexico by a security camera from a company there at 3 in the morning. Notice how the creature starts taking different shapes, and it seems like it disappears at the very end of the video. This is the reason why you should stay in bed late night. You wouldn't want to come across something like this on your way back home, or when you're getting out of work.
God, this is unbelievable. Look at these good vibes guys here. They are testing a light bulb using their children's sperm, and the bulb is writing. Oh, this is crazy. How can you explain this, good people of Earth? Or is just the good vibes generating from the baby? You leave your comments, wonderful souls. You see? But this
Some
is
of
just
us are
wonderful.
living a resting life, which means we've gone through so many incarnations of very difficult lifetimes that our soul chose to reincarnate and experience a resting life, or a life that is just very easy. Some of us chose a very difficult life, that way we could release a lot of karma. I am one of those people. I definitely chose to release a lot of karma. I must have done some crazy stuff in my past life, because truthfully, I was hit with karma. Like, my soul definitely chose a very challenging life. That way I could release a lot of karma. The more challenging, the more you can release karma. But sometimes we choose these lifetimes over and over again. Maybe we have a ton of karma and our soul really needs a break. If I find out that I didn't release all of my karma and I have to come back here and experience challenges again, then I am not going to be happy. I would love to come back here. I love planet Earth, but I don't love all the challenges. So it would be amazing if I could experience a resting life on Earth in my next life. Or I could just hang out in the spirit side for a while.
He found this ring, a big ring, and didn't know what it was, but saw this strange writing on, these strange symbols on this ring. So then he and another person walked through it to look at the other side, and lo and behold, they got into some other sphere, as if they walked into another dimension.
And this ring, so the audience knows, we're talking like what diameter?
It's probably 25 feet in diameter.
Mm-hmm.
And
the sphere was even larger than that.
Oh, as they walked into it, it was like a new world. Mm-hmm. As he explained in his diary, it was like a new world. And he couldn't figure out how he got from one place, an enclosed sarcophagus almost, into this open area.
Is this a portal of some sort?
Well, today we would call it a portal or a Stargate. I think we would refer to it today as a Stargate.
Stargate.
But back in those days, in 1928,
yeah, they didn't know.
They didn't know what it was. But when he walked into it, it was as if he was in a new world. It was an open area, plush pastures. He sees a river, which he assumed to be the Nile, and he sees almost a movie occurring, showing people building these pyramids. And he's in there, he thinks, for maybe an hour, but when he comes out, he's been there for 3 days. He's been for over 72 hours because the crew that he came with were scared. They got out of that tunnel and got out into the open because they thought that they ended up on some other side.
Or it swallowed them up.
Or swallowed them up. And so, but 3 days later, they come back out.
How many of the team went with him?
Only 2.
Only 2.
But there were 6 other team members, 8 total. And so those other 6 left, but they stayed up in the area outside where they had an encampment. And eventually, 3 days later, the colonel and his assistant comes back out, and he talks of this new world that they found, and that he knows now how these pyramids were built. He knows where they are located. He knows that there's tunnels under each one of them, and he sees these strange-looking beings, and this is in his diary, strange-looking beings that are probably not from Earth. Now, he says this in his diary, and this is 1928.
Right.
So then decide to make another camp. They had to go get supplies to come back because they only had enough supplies for, a few days or a week or something like that. But they did, and they brought more people back. This time they brought back from some local people. And they tried to explain through an interpreter to these local people what they had found. And these local people didn't want any part of going down there. They seemed to be aware of maybe the rumors or the legends about this particular tunnel. But the colonel he wasn't afraid to go back.
Right.
So he went back with another person, a different person, not the same that he went the first time. So they go down there. This time they're prepared. They have supplies, they have water, they have things. Because although they saw water going through there, they didn't know if they should drink it or not. Anyways, they walk through. This time he's closer to where they're building a pyramid. He sees these strange things in the sky that are flying around with these large bricks. He's stumped. He can't understand what these things are that are flying. Although during that time period, there were airplanes, conventional airplanes, single engine airplanes in the 1920s. We had them during World War I. But they didn't look like any of those type of aircrafts. And remember, he's a British colonel, and he'd been through war, and he knew airplanes. He'd been through World War I, but he couldn't understand and couldn't rationalize what these other things were.
And they're holding these giant blocks.
Right. And it's like a movie. He sees these things happening, and he watches this pyramid being built. But he also sees this underground area where there's tunnels, and there are a vast amount of people working in certain tasks down there. Some people are baking. Some people are doing some kind of a work, like a painting or a carpentry work. And then some are lying down on what he refers to as a conveyor belt. And these bodies are like moving in to this tunnel. So he's down there for about a week, he's estimating. When he comes out, now he has a story to tell. He documents all this in his diary.
If he was a week down there, when he got back, was he gone for 4 weeks? Did he say
no,
anything?
he came back and it was a week missing.
Oh, okay.
Missing time for a week. And then he goes back. Eventually gets back to the UK, and he tells his story to a society. And none of them believe him. They didn't believe him. They didn't believe a word he said. Right. Even though he had two witnesses, because he brought 2 different people, took 2 different people in there. So they said, no, we don't believe you. This is impossible. What you say is not feasible. But he keeps this. Now, jump ahead.
Wonderful, Sus. Thank you very, very much for watching up to this part. You see, it's clear that there's a lot of bizarre and mysterious stuff in this world, you see? And I'm really glad we have watched all those stuff together up to this far. May God really bless you, my friend, you see? And if you have been tolerant with that noise in the background, you are one wonderful soul. May God never cease to bless you in all ways and in all manners. For that, let's read a word from the Book of Knowledge. By the way, if you have any verse that you would like us to read, or your favorite verse, leave it there in the comment section. We might read it in the next episode or the next one. Just leave your verse there, you see. Let me search for a verse here. Don't have any. That's why I'm telling you to leave your comment. But there is a lot of highlighted verses in this Bible. And today we will share one of those verses that is good vibes. Aha! Here we are. Jeremiah 8. Jeremiah 8:8. How can you say, we are wise, for we have the law of the Lord, when actually the lying pen of the scribes has handled it falsely? The wise will be put to shame. They will be dismayed and trapped, since they have rejected the Lord, the word of the Lord. What kind of wisdom do they have? Therefore, I will give their wives to other men, and their fields to new owners. From the least to the greatest, all are greedy for gain. Prophets and priests alike, all practice deceit. Wonderful souls. This word of God here is very interesting, and there's a lot of stuff to learn from this book. Like now that word of today, it's probably talking about us living in peace and doing the right things, and not going away from the ways of God. May God always help us to do good at all times. Let's close with a word of prayer. Let's say the grace. May the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, and the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us now and forevermore. Amen.